Jose Ramirez's longtime trainer, Robert Garcia, isn't backing down when it comes to the possibility of a Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia rematch, even in light of Ryan's disappointing loss to Rolando "Raleigh" Romero in New York. In fact, Garcia still believes the fight could be a massive event. And from a business perspective, he has a point. Ryan Garcia is one of boxing's biggest stars, and his rivalry with Haney has generated tons of buzz over the years. Despite the loss, their names alone still carry weight, and fans are invested in seeing how this saga will continue. But here's the twist. While the prospect of the rematch still has commercial appeal, there's a much deeper issue at play, and it lies squarely with Devin Haney's performance. His fight with Jose Ramirez wasn't just lacking in excitement, it was borderline painful to watch. And not because of the lack of action, but because it felt like Haney was actively avoiding action. The energy in the arena felt like it was drained from the fight. Haney wasn't just being cautious, it seemed as though he was afraid, and that's a huge red flag for anyone who hopes to see him in the ring against a challenger as explosive as Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney's performance against Ramirez was a stark contrast to what boxing fans expect from an undisputed champion. Haney is a technical fighter, a skilled tactician who usually thrives on his ability to outbox his opponents. But in this fight, it didn't just feel like he was playing it safe, it felt like he was doubting his own ability to take a punch. After his loss to Ryan Garcia, something changed. Haney's confidence in his chin seemed to crumble. It was obvious to anyone watching that he didn't want to risk getting hit, and this fear made him retreat into a shell. That shell wasn't just physical, it was mental too. The boxer who once commanded the ring with a fearless approach seemed like a completely different fighter. He spent more time circling the outside of the ring than engaging, and even when he did engage, it was calculated and hesitant. For a fighter like Haney, who has often prided himself on his boxing IQ and ring generalship, this was a stark departure from the fearless champion we were used to seeing. Fans don't just watch boxing for the technical skills, they want to see heart. They want to see fighters who are willing to take risks. Haney didn't give that to them in this fight, and Robert Garcia didn't hold back his feelings on the matter. "I wouldn't even call that boxing," he said in an interview. After the fight, his assessment wasn't just a criticism of Haney's tactics, it was a reflection of the general frustration boxing fans have been feeling. Haney's strategy was all about staying safe, about outpointing his opponent while avoiding any real danger. That's fine for some fighters, but when you're in the ring against someone like Jose Ramirez, fans expect more than just dancing around the ring. They want to see drama. They want to see exchanges. They want to see someone take control. And Haney simply didn't do that. Instead, he spent the majority of the fight circling and flicking out jabs, maintaining distance without ever truly asserting himself. It didn't feel like a battle. It felt like a clock was ticking down to a predetermined outcome. In Haney's mind, he had already won, and so the fight became little more than a formality. That's not what fans pay to see, and it's certainly not what Robert Garcia wants for his own fighter, Jose Ramirez. To Garcia, Haney didn't just win, he survived. And that survival came at the expense of boxing's excitement. Despite all of that, Garcia still maintains that a Haney versus Ryan rematch is worth pursuing. He points to other major fighters who've lost, like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and notes that their losses don't make their potential matchups any less enticing. A fight between Fury and Joshua, for example, would still draw huge crowds, and he believes the same holds true for Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. There's too much history between the two for a loss to completely ruin the narrative. Garcia believes that the rematch could still be a major event, and in the world of boxing, narratives are everything. If you've followed the drama between Garcia and Haney, you know it's more than just about who wins or loses. It's about the personalities, the tension, and the years of buildup. Fans have been waiting for this fight for a long time, and despite the losses, the rematch still feels inevitable. They'll watch it not just because they want to see the fight itself, but because of the emotional journey that comes with it. Who's improved? Who's learned from their losses? And who will get the upper hand when it matters most? Still, there's a growing sentiment in the boxing world that perhaps the sport should move on from these two fighters. While the Garcia versus Haney rematch might still make sense on paper, there's a more pressing question. Are these two truly the future of the division? And more importantly, are they capable of taking on the next wave of talent that's quickly emerging? Fighters like Jaron Boots Ennis and Brian Norman Jr. have captured the imaginations of boxing fans with their raw talent, aggressive styles, and willingness to take risks. They're hungry, they're bold, and they're ready to take on the best. Ryan and Haney, after their recent performances, have shown vulnerabilities that make it difficult to imagine them as serious contenders against the rising stars. Fans are starting to feel like they've seen enough of the Garcia vs. Haney drama, and what they really want to see is a fresh rivalry, one that brings a new sense of excitement and urgency to the ring. Take Ryan's performance against Rolly Romero, for instance. From the very first round, it was clear that Romero came into the fight with one goal: to make a statement. And he did just that by knocking Ryan down in the second round with a left hook that shook him to his core. After that, Ryan Garcia looked like a fighter who had lost his confidence. The doubt crept in. He was hesitant, reluctant to take risks, and as a result, Romero maintained the lead throughout the fight. Ryan never really looked comfortable in the ring. The knockout punch didn't just land physically, and it affected him mentally. Suddenly, Ryan was wary of his opponent's power. He couldn't get out of his own head, and that's a dangerous place for a boxer to be. Fans who were hoping to see the confident, fast-talking Ryan Garcia were left disappointed. Instead, they saw a fighter who was trying his hardest to avoid making mistakes, a fighter who looked unsure of himself. And that's not the Ryan Garcia who had once promised so much. As for Haney, his performance was similarly underwhelming. Despite being undefeated and technically gifted, his fight against Ramirez lacked any sort of real action or drama. Instead of engaging and pushing the pace, he spent the night circling jab after jab, never giving fans a reason to lean forward in their seats. It wasn't just a matter of strategy, it was a lack of heart. It was a fighter who was too afraid to make a mistake, and for boxing fans, that's a killer. Boxing thrives on tension, on the possibility of a punch landing that could change everything. But with Haney, there was no such danger. His victory felt preordained, and that kind of predictability doesn't make for a great fight. Ultimately, Robert Garcia is right that a Haney vs. Garcia rematch might still sell out big arenas. But is that enough? Should boxing's future be built around two fighters who seem more concerned with avoiding risk than taking chances? Or is it time to look toward the future, to the rising stars who are willing to bring the drama and excitement that the sport desperately needs? That's a question only time will answer. But for now, fans are still left wondering if the Garcia vs. Haney rematch is really the fight they want to see.